Howdy, hello, and hey y'all. Welcome back, fellow detectives, to Inquiring Minds, the podcast that turns my inquiry in math and science class into a semester-long whodunit. Well, folks, this fall semester is packing its bags, which means this podcast is too. But don't worry, I wouldn't dare leave you without one last juicy episode. So grab your magnifying glass and a notepad, because I've titled this one, Crime Scenes, Code Breaks, and DNA, the semester's grand finale. In these final modules, we've been solving puzzles, extracting DNA like mad scientists, analyzing fingerprints like seasoned sleuths, measuring tiny bloodstains, hello eye strain, tackling the infamous CSI effect, and even moonlighting as cryptography experts. Honestly, it's been a whirlwind of mystery, science, and just the right amount of geeky fun, and I can't wait to tell you all about it, so let's dive in. If you've been tuning in, you'll remember that last episode, I had a rocky time with attention to detail. But guess what? This time around, I nailed it. Sure, there were some moments looking at you 3mm bloodstains that tested my patience. But hey, no major slip-ups. Let's break it down, shall we? First up, DNA extraction. Picture this, me gargling salt water like I'm auditioning for a mouthwash commercial, only to spit it into a glass like a classy scientist. A little food coloring, some carefully placed alcohol, and voila, strands of DNA floating to the surface like ghostly spaghetti. Mind-blowing, right? I mean, who knew something so small and so crucial could be whipped up with kitchen supplies? Then came fingerprint analysis, aka the ultimate test of attention to detail. We had to find arches, loops, and whorls on an enlarged fingerprint image. If this were a detective movie, I'd be the rookie squinting at the evidence saying, enhance. But guess what? I matched the guilty party to their print without losing my mind. A win for Team Me. Now, let's talk bloodstains. Measuring them in millimeters made me question everything. My eyesight, my sanity, and why blood splatters can't just be the size of a quarter. But I powered through, calculating preponderance and directionality angles like a crime scene pro, eye strain and all. And speaking of crime scenes, let's address the infamous CSI effect. We spent time discussing how crime shows have completely warped public perception of forensic science. Apparently, juries now expect every case to have DNA, perfect fingerprints, and a dramatic lab montage. Reality check. Real-life forensic work is painstaking, often inconclusive, and rarely features snazzy background music. It's a fascinating and frustrating dynamic that has real implications for our legal system. Finally, we dove into the digital world of encryption, decryption, and password security. Turns out half of us are walking around with passwords that a toddler could hack. No offense to Password 123 fans, but it's time to do better. It was a crash course in internet safety, and let's just say I'm rethinking everything from my email logins to my Netflix account. Now that we've tackled everything from DNA extraction to dodgy passwords, let's shift gears. Imagine you're watching the most over-the-top true crime drama, complete with dramatic courtroom stares and a mysterious bloody glove. Except plot twist, this isn't a show. It's real life. Yes, detectives, it's time to dive into the case that put bloodstain pattern analysis and courtroom theatrics on the map. Grab your popcorn, because we're talking about the O.J. Simpson trial, aka the trial of the century, or as I like to call it, CSI, the drama edition. Back in 1994, O.J. Simpson, a former football star and occasional actor, was accused of the double murder of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. Now here's where things get messy. Literally. Blood evidence was a major part of this case. Investigators found bloodstains at the crime scene, in O.J.'s car, and even on a pair of his socks. Sounds like a slam dunk, right? Not so fast. This is where bloodstain pattern analysis took center stage, and oh boy, it was a wild ride. Experts debated everything from the size and shape of the blood droplets to whether the stains were consistent with the events that prosecution described. Add in some sloppy evidence collection, looking at you, contaminated gloves and missing samples, and suddenly the science felt more like a soap opera. And here's the kicker. OJ's defense team leaned heavily on the jury's skepticism, fueled in part by, drumroll please, the CSI effect. Yep, jurors were expecting the kind of crystal clear, zoomed in evidence they'd seen on TV, not the messy, complicated reality of actual forensics. Combine that with a courtroom lineup of experts who couldn't agree on blood patterns, and you've got reasonable doubt on the menu. Spoiler alert, OJ was acquitted in the criminal trial, but the case is still a textbook example of how bloodstain analysis and public perception of it can make or break a case. Moral of the story, bloodstains don't lie, but humans sure do love to argue about them. Now that we've unpacked the OJ trial and its courtroom theatrics, let's zoom in on another case where bloodstains stole the spotlight, but this time the plot twist is even wilder. Imagine a true crime roller coaster with a dash of forensic whiplash. Buckle up, detectives, because we are diving into the Julie Rhea case. A story that proves blood evidence can clear a name just as dramatically as it can accuse one. In 1997, Julie Rhea, a mom from Illinois, was accused of murdering her 10-year-old son, Joel. The prosecution claimed it was a tragic case of a mother snapping, but Julie swore an intruder had broken into her home and committed the crime. Now here's where the plot thickens. The only thing more dramatic than the courtroom arguments was the forensic evidence, or the lack thereof. Bloodstain pattern analysis became a critical part of the case. The prosecution used it to suggest that Julie's version of events didn't add up, while the defense argued that the patterns were consistent with her story of an intruder. It was a forensic tug-of-war with high stakes and plenty of CSI effect vibes. Years later, the real jaw-dropper came, when serial killer Tommy Lynn Sells confessed to Joel's murder, and blood evidence at the scene backed up his account. Talk about a plot twist worthy of a season finale. Julie was eventually exonerated, proving that while blood doesn't lie, it sometimes takes a long, winding journey to tell the full truth. Moral of this story, bloodstains can be a lifesaver or a life ruiner, depending on how they're analyzed. And maybe, just maybe, we should leave the crime solving to the experts and not the overly confident ones with PowerPoint slides. All right, so it's time to talk about the latest buzz in the world of bloodstain pattern analysis. Now, we all know that this forensic tool can be as dramatic as a courtroom scene, but it's also coming under a bit of scrutiny lately, especially when it comes to its reliability. In fact, a recent study showed that bloodstain analysts can make errors up to 11% of the time, and even experts disagree with each other about 8% of the time. So while bloodstains are still as valuable as ever, it turns out that getting the right interpretation is a little more slippery than we'd like to admit. This isn't just about squinting under stains under magnifying glasses either. The National Institute of Justice has been pushing for more rigorous methods and better standards, and even using advanced techniques like fluid dynamics to improve accuracy. Why? Because when you rely on something as subjective as expert opinion, even the slightest misstep can lead to serious consequences in the courtroom. As it turns out, sometimes those clean-cut crime scenes we see on TV might be a little too tidy compared to real-world bloodstain analysis. And that's a wrap, detectives. We've uncovered the truth behind DNA extraction, played Sherlock with fingerprints, and measured bloodstains so tiny they made my eyes squint like I'm on a stakeout at 2 a.m. We've tackled the wild world of courtroom drama, from OJ's sock scandal to Julie Rhea's shocking plot twist. But before we close up shop for the semester, let's remember this. Bloodstains might not lie, but boy, do they love to keep us on our toes. As we say goodbye for now, I'll leave you with this gem. Next time you watch a crime show, remember, real-life forensics involve fewer zooming graphics and more squinting at the evidence in questionable lighting. So stay sharp, stay skeptical, and maybe, just maybe, use stronger passwords. Thanks for sticking with me through this semester of mystery science and a whole lot of what on earth did I just learn. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and as always, keep those inquiring minds sharp. Y'all take care.